Swanga, this is SwaggerTurbo, and welcome back to the penultimate episode of Scuteria Supari My Team Career Mode. We've had 15 episodes till now, and of course, we still have one more, which will be the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But focusing on the Brazil right now, we still have all two races left, and it is extremely close between us and Haas behind us, and even AlphaTauri, who got up in the last race, which was in Mexico. Obviously, we have a bit of cash to spend over here. We will be getting a little more, so we'll spend it on resources, basically resource generation, and hope like hell that we get enough money to get Jehan for the next year as well. So obviously we'll have to see how that whole thing goes. But as of now, all the attachments and all the development parts and everything have gone in, which is super good. We still have the chassis and reliability issues, obviously, but that has been taken care of, which is the best part. So we don't really have to worry about the next season and losing all these upgrades. We still have two parts which are at risk, and I was like, you know what? Rather than wasting more resource points till later on, let's just use it on that right now. We'll use the cylinder head, the upgrade probably a little bit later once we are done with this race and get the basically practice session. We finish it and then we get the resource points. So you can see that we have caught up quite a bit to Aston Martin as well, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, at least we have caught up. We were way ahead, in the early stages of this whole series, but then we fell back, and yeah, slowly we are making our way back up with a few upgrades here and there, and maybe using a bit of money from the sixth position that we are in right now. We could do with a lot of upgrades to our fabrication as well as our resource point generation, because right now we don't really have the resource points to upgrade. But let's say once we start getting huge amount of resource points, it's going to be hard for us to put on upgrades, like two or three upgrades together. So we need to focus on a bit of fabrication as well. But yeah, right now we have the quali going on in the background. We are coming 11th right now, which is actually not too bad. The weird part was we're still on 89% AI as usual, and for some reason we were able to just stick with these guys, and it just felt as if the gaps are extremely close, because I was making slight mistake, we're going down to 12th. I was gaining in a few places, I was going up to 11th. So by the end of it, we do end up in 13th, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we ended up at 14th, not even 13th. Wow. But yeah, we ended up in 14th, and all I want to say is just look at the gaps over here. You can see that Vettel is 13th by 3 thousandths of a second from us, and we are 1.2 seconds off of the leader. And you can see that from all the way from 13th Vettel to 20th Sonoda, we are all 1.2 seconds away. The gap between us is literally only, I think, 8 hundredths of a second between 14th to 20th, or even 13th to 20th. So extremely close margins. No wonder, this was so competitive. Let's see what happens in the race.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Russell, Sergio Perez, and Hamilton, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, and Esteban Ocon, Bottas, Gasly, Sebastian Vettel, Kumar, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Guan Yu Zhou, and Jehan Daruvala, Albon, Sonoda, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Honestly, this is the first time I was looking at the whole grid, and I realized how close we all were. Like all the backmarker cars, because we're obviously not mid pack because we're not getting points consistently. We are getting it here and there super hard. But yeah, it's pretty wild to me that the gap is literally so close. The whole pack is just bunched up together. There's not much between us, the Haas, Aston Martin, even the Williams for that matter. Yeah, finishing up the formation lap right now. Let's just hope for a good start because the AI is always super good during starts. We get a almost perfect, parking yet again. And Schumacher right behind, Magnussen is also right there. So this is gonna get interesting. It's 5 red lights for the sprint in Brazil, and it's lights out and away we go. We get a pretty okay start, but as usual, the AI just covering us off. And we have already been overtaken by Magnussen, and Schumacher goes down the inside, Joe around the outside. We are literally in a sandwich. Already lost 2 positions to both the horses right in front of us, and there's nothing much we can do about it. But I am dumping all the ERS I have, and Joe going down the inside of us and making an amazing move. But I'm gonna try and go down the inside again, try to get back at least that 1 position that we have lost, and making it a total of 2 positions lost off the start. I was saying about this earlier as well, and the AI is just so quick. There's nothing much that I can really do during starts, but yeah, can't really help it. Going extremely close to Magnussen here, almost touching his back, and if there was even a slightest bit of contact, our wing would have flown off because of simulation damage. I'm trying to go down the inside over here, and Magnussen does give us a space, so we go dive down the inside of Magnussen and get that position for us. Vettel is right in front of us, Magnussen right behind us, so let's try and just catch up to Vettel over here because I'm pretty sure Magnussen in that Haas is going to be pretty quick because his top straight line speed is 100% faster than us because they have more upgrades on the car, even though our timings were pretty similar. As you can see, even without DRS, he's going side by side going into turn 1 now. And we did manage to keeping behind for one whole lap, but lap 3 now, exact same position, and he does overtake us with the help of DRS. We also had DRS on Vettel, obviously, and as you can see, that was just slight bit of waiting. I tried to cut at the same place because the whole lap pretty much nothing happened. We were right behind Magnussen, right behind Vettel. We got up to him a little bit and got DRS off of him. And yeah, Magnussen overtook us, which is pretty unfortunate, but we're going to try and get back at Magnussen if we can. Obviously, this is a sprint, so we need to get that top 10 at least to try and have a good race overall. Because obviously, top 8 get points in sprint, and there's no way we have that kind of pace for top 8. This car just doesn't let us go faster. The multiplayer cars and this car, I can see so much of a difference because in the multiplayer cars, in the league races that we do as well, the cars are actually so much better and they just handle so good. And while I'm talking about handling, Joe tries to go for a dive down the inside in turn 1, and thankfully we have DRS this time around on Magnussen, so we're gonna try and use DRS to just keep Joe at bay here. But he does pull up right next to us. We're gonna give him space if we can, and that was extremely close between us and Guan Yu right there, almost like a squeeze from our end, but yeah, after that we couldn't really do much. Literally skipped to lap 12 instantly, and yeah, Magnussen was just slightly faster and Joe was just slightly slower, and we end up in 15th. So hopefully we can gain a few positions in the race. That's at least what we hope for in league, but it's super hard to do that with the OP AI stats.
So
So
let's see what effect this
yeah,
result has had
let's
on
just
the overall
try
standings.
and
Max
maybe
Verstappen
get
should be
some
pleased with his
get into
performance,
points
making
again.
it
That's a
easy at the
very
top of the
being
grid.
very optimistic,
Time to check
but
out the
that's
constructors'
our main
standings.
goal
No change
at
in the top
least
spot then,
in this
with
season.
today's
So
points
yeah, let's try and do that.
on that lead
Verstappen
is
first,
getting
Leclerc
into
second,
gears.
Sainz
With
third.
the sprint
Let's see
wrapped up,
how
we
the
now
race
have our
goes now.
grid line. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Ocon, Sergio Perez, and Bottas. Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty. Russell, Kumar, and Guan Yu Zhou. Hamilton, Gasly, Alex Albon, and Ricciardo. Mick Schumacher, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Vettel, Kevin Magnussen, and Jehan Daruvala. Stroll, they've taken a grid penalty. Sonoda, Latifi, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And
Okay, so now that is interesting. Obviously, if you saw on screen, we have gained a few positions because of penalties. So we're not starting 15th anymore, and we are all the way up to ninth. We've literally gained positions after the sprint, which is we are in points paying positions right now. So all we have to do is try and defend like crazy, especially like in Mexico, and Hamilton is right there while talking about Mexico. But yeah, it's five red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. We get a pretty decent start, better than last time at least. Instantly dump ERS, but Zhou just flies past us, and it does get very close over here, going around the outside of Guan Yu right here, and going down the inside of Bottas as well. But Bottas comes back at us, and so does Guan Yu Zhou. I am dumping all of my ERS, but these guys get such an amazing exit out of those S sections, the Senna curves, and it is actually crazy, especially in the first lap of the session. And while I'm saying, Ricardo also makes a move on us, which is pretty wild, not gonna lie. He just dives it down the inside, gives us no space, and cuts across the track. So obviously, I am pretty, angry about that, and I send one down the inside instantly as a reply. I'm like, you know what? I am fighting my hardest to get this 10th at least. In Mexico, we could keep Hamilton at bay. There's no, we definitely can keep Ricardo at bay as well. But Albon retiring from the session, so we go for a quick look, and there's no smoke coming out of the back of the Williams. So I think it's a mechanical or maybe an hydraulic issue. He just goes to the side and stops the car. No idea what happened. But the good news is we're still in front of Ricardo. But for how much longer is the question? We are in the inside, almost having spin there, touching the curb a little bit, which was very scary. And I have to use ERS here, but I know for a fact that going down the inside gives us a slight edge going into these, this S section, should I say. And there we go. As I said, we are able to keep it in front of Ricardo, but they get such a good exit into this first DRS zone. It's crazy. You can see how much he's gained already. And again, just giving him a slight bit of squeeze. And Bottas is in front of us now. And let's try and catch up to him if we can. And in lap 6, it took us 5 more laps, I'd say. And yeah, we are here right behind Bottas in the DRS zone. So you're going to try and maybe catch up to Bottas and just stick with him. You can see that our ERS is completely depleted, and we're still depleting it. So I was thinking about a dive down the inside over here, and we send one absolute send down the inside, and it sticks. Bottas gives us just amount of space, and we take that space completely, and we're like, thank you very much, Bottas. And now we force him to go around the outside, and we do make the move stick, which is pretty crazy and pretty wild. Thinking, I didn't really think that we'll be able to make a move, but Bottas is trying to go down the inside here, and thankfully we keep it in front of him and keep both our noses clean. That was very close, not a right place to obviously make a move, but thankfully we keep it in front of Bottas, and let's try and get his teammate Guan Yu Zhou now. Lap 9 now. This is the closest we have been to Zhou. I have been saving a little bit of ERS as well. The ERS upgrades are helping quite a bit. 44% ERS. I'm going to dump it down the straight and hope like hell that we can make a similar move to what we did on Bottas. But we can see that Guan Yu is instantly going for the defense, but I stick on the left side because I want this inner part of the track for this move, and we get it. We go down the inside and make a move on Guan Yu, almost similar to what we did on Bottas, and right away I go defensive. I want this inner line for this next turn, and we do keep it going side by side now, giving it as much space as possible, and we make the move stick, thankfully. But yeah, Bottas did try and come back at us in this particular section, but Guan Yu is pretty far back, and I don't think he will be able to make a move on us, at least on this lap. But yeah, lap 16 now, we got a 2.4 second gap to Guan Yu, which is pretty decent, not gonna lie. But yeah, almost every single driver is in the pits for tire replacement. Verstappen, the leader of this race, is also into the pits. And behind us, even Bottas is out, and almost like in the pits for a new set of hard tires. So this stint is going to be extremely important for us because we have to make sure that we don't mess up. And while I'm saying that, we almost went into a wall coming out of the pits because of cold, hard tires. So let's just quickly, try to get these bad boys to proper temperature and maybe, just hopefully, just get some, grip out of them. Daruwala is right in front of us, our teammate, and let's just see my pace versus his pace with new hards versus old mediums. You already caught up a slight bit, but then the tires are still not in the optimal range. I can just feel it. And yeah, slowly now we're able to catch up to Jehan right here. Jehan is stuck behind Latifi right now, so if we do get close to him and there's a chance that we can help him out, we'll try and do it. But I think it's gonna be his pit lap, so we'll have to see exactly how that goes. But yeah, using a bit of ERS as well, Hamilton is right behind us. No idea what happened to Bottas. Maybe Valtteri had a bit of wing damage and he fell back. No idea what happened there, but he's all the way down in, I think, 17 there. But yeah, a lot of people pitting, and we can see that Guan Yu Zhou has also pit, and he's just coming out of the pit lane. So we have kept the lead that we had over Guan Yu, but we'll have to see how much we have lost or how much we have gained after he comes out of the pits. And while I'm talking about that, Hamilton and Guan Yu are side by side getting out of the pits now. And Hamilton actually overtakes Guan Yu, which is crazy. So let's see if we can actually keep Hamilton at bay yet again, like Mexico, or will he actually overtake us? And unfortunately, the same thing happened. The guys in front, Ocon, Norris, and the front runners just flew and were 10 seconds ahead. And Hamilton and Ricardo and the other people behind us were, like, 2 or 3 tenths slower per lap and just kept falling back. So all I had to do was make sure Hamilton doesn't get into our DRS range. And once I ensured that, it was a pretty, I would say I did, because I got bored in between while driving the car because there was no action. I was just basically doing time trial laps, but on a very bad tire compound, and overall this was pretty slow. But yeah, anyways, Leclerc winning the Brazilian Grand Prix. This is gonna be super close between Leclerc and Verstappen. So a proper WTC fight is going on, and WTC is pretty far-fetched for the Red Bull boys. I mean, sorry, the Ferrari boys, because Red Bull has, I think, 44 points or something lead over Ferrari. We'll have to again cross-check that right away. But yeah, it's a 2-3 yet again for Red Bull. They've been super consistent. But Leclerc has been putting in the work, and the last few races has been very good for Ferrari, with a few wins for Ferrari, as well as Carlos Sainz over here, because he did have a DNF, but they're still getting a decent amount of points. So unless something very wrong or very bad happens to both the Red Bulls in Abu Dhabi, which is super rare. Obviously, I don't think that kind of thing is gonna happen, but until that kind of thing happens, they pretty much have this world's constructor at least in the bag. But Verstappen will have to work hard for his WDC this time around. So will he be able to get two in a row? Obviously, one from 2021 and this time 2022. Will he be able to win it, or will Charles Leclerc in the last and final race snatch the WDC from Verstappen the same way he did in real life from Hamilton? So obviously we'll have to wait and look for it in the next episode, the final episode. Make sure you guys have the notification on, because it will be out this year itself, before 2023. It's going to be the final video on the channel, so I hope you guys enjoyed. But yeah, it's only 3 point difference between Verstappen and Leclerc. We are in a comfortable 11th, so we are pretty much 100% gonna get 11th here, and it's 38 point gap between Red Bull and Ferrari, which is gonna be super hard. And while I'm talking about that, AlphaTauri and Haas have closed the gap. They're only 9 points away, and if they have a decent race in Abu Dhabi, we could be in trouble. So we have Red Bull versus Ferrari us versus AlphaTauri and Haas to look out for in the next and final race. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys with the finale. That's it for now. Peace.